Alex has now successfully recorded and run his macro, and it seems to be working really well. The client, however, has come back and said that they don't like the size of the heading. They want that to be a bit bigger, and that they would really like the user to be prompted to provide the week commencing date. Now, in the case of the heading, it would be crazy to delete the macro and re-record the whole thing over such a small change. So what Alex would like to do is simply tweak the macro. He also will find it hard to record the step of popping up a message asking the user to enter the date, because there's no facility to do that in Excel. So again, there's an example where he will need to edit the macro rather than simply record it. And that's what we're going to look at next. To edit a macro, we're going to come back to our Developer tab, and again, we're going to click on that big Macros button. And when we do, we're going to make sure we've got Create Timesheet selected, but this time we're going to click Edit. When you edit a macro, it will open up the VBA editor. Your screen may look slightly different to mine, as this view can be customized. The important things that you can see, though, should be the Project Explorer, which allows you to look at different macros in different open workbooks, and the code window on the right. When you record a macro in Excel, it will automatically create a module, and all the recorded macros are stored in modules. Usually there's one, but there may be two or even more. Having a look at the code now, first thing you will notice at the top is a sub create timesheet. The sub stands for subroutine, and all recorded macros begin with a sub. In a similar way, all recorded macros end with an end sub, and it is very important that all of your code sits between the sub and the end sub. Each line of code represents one instruction or one step that you performed. Right at the top, though, you will notice that some of the code is green and prefixed with an apostrophe. These are what we call comments. Comments are entirely ignored by the compiler, but they're very useful for documenting our code. So I could put in a comment here with my name and the day I wrote the code or the day I changed the macro. And I could write absolutely anything, as it would be ignored by the compiler. If there is a line that is in error, but you're nervous about deleting it, you can also simply put an apostrophe in front of that line, and that will comment out the line. We might need this though, so I'm going to remove that. Now, coming down into our code where it actually begins, the first line is sheets.add after equals active sheet. Now, at first glance, that can be a little daunting, but actually the code is quite easy to understand, and all this is saying is add a new worksheet after the sheet I'm currently clicked on. Let's have a look at the third line. Range A2.select. Again, strangely worded, but all that's saying is select cell A2. So quite straightforward actually when you get into it. Now the thing we want to change first is the size of the font, and if you scroll down a little, you'll see with selection.font, size equals 16. So that's where we specified we wanted our size to be size 16. Well, we can just change that now to size 20. Now what I've done here is I've changed the code. This will have no impact on my existing worksheets. You will only see this change take effect when we actually run the code again. But there's one other change we also want to make. We actually want to ask the user to enter the week commencing date. So I'm going to come up to the line week commencing, just click in the code at the end and press enter so I can get a new line. Remember, each new instruction must start on a new line. Then I'm going to type range, open brackets, open quotes, B2, because I want to change the value in B2, close quotes, close brackets, dot value, because I'm changing the value rather than the font or the border or the color, and then a space, is equal to, and here comes the interesting bit. We're going to use an input box. So I'm just going to type input box and open my bracket. There are two arguments I need to give the input box. The first is a prompt. That's what the instruction I'm going to give the user. So I'm going to open my quotes and I'm going to say, please enter week commencing date, and close my quotes. Then type a comma, and this is the title of the box, which is what's going to be at the top, and that's going to be new timesheet date. Close your quotes, close your brackets. And then if you want to just click away, you've now put in your second change. Before we can now test this, we're going to need to save. You will notice save icon at the top here. You can click that save, or you can go back into your workbook and press save. Both will save the entire workbook complete with the macro. So click whichever one you prefer. And now a nice little shortcut to get back to our Excel workbook, we're going to press Alt F11. And that shortcut toggles you between the code window and the worksheet. And now to test our macros. So we're going to click back onto sheet 1, and I'm going to click the new timesheet button. You'll see it's run the first 2 lines of code, and now it's asking for us to type in the week commencing date. And that's going to be the 2nd of the 10th, 17, and click OK. It has now completed the macro and put our date in. Just one little step that we haven't done is to widen our column sufficiently so we can see the date. So that's what we're going to look at how to do in the next video. So we've now looked at how we can easily open the VBA code window and edit the code. In the next video, we're going to look at how we can delete and copy macros.